All right, good people. Trump's sentencing is set for next week in New York. Judge Juan Merchan will sentence Trump on January 10th, but he will probably not get any jail time. Merchan upheld Trump's conviction in a hush money case, rejecting the president-elect's effort to throw out the jury's verdict just because he'll soon be president. Trump can appear virtually or in person for his sentencing. Trump was found guilty by a jury in May on 34 counts of falsifying business records. His lawyers have already indicated that they would appeal any effort to sentence him before Inauguration Day on January 20th. A lot to get into. Let me bring in the panel tonight. I am joined by Michael Imhotep, host of the African History Network show. He comes to us out of Detroit, Michigan. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi, Texas, and Kelly Bethea, communication strategist. She comes to us from Washington, D.C. Kelly, let me start with you. You know, this is something that Trump was hoping would not happen. It seems like his risk probably will be coming true. Certainly something that a lot of people are mad at, I'm sure, especially the jury who found him guilty on those 34 counts.
For sure. I mean, I am also one of those people who are incredibly salty at the fact that the justice system only works for those who don't have billions of dollars or perceived billions of dollars, right? But at the end of the day, I do take solace in the fact that we did get to a sentencing step in this process when it comes to this man. At the end of the day, he is still going to be a convicted felon. He will forever be a convicted felon. Right? So whether he goes to jail or not, I don't want to say it's irrelevant, but the fact of the matter remains, he's a criminal. And we put a criminal in the White House, and we are going to have to reconcile with that. We're going to have to come to terms with that as a nation, that a majority or a perceived majority of Americans thought that a convicted felon was better than a Black woman to take the oath of office for these United States. Like, we're really going to have a come to Jesus moment in that regard. But, you know, at the end of the day, that is what he is, whether he gets sentenced or not.
Matt, I think it's really interesting because I know in your line of work, you've seen people perhaps be convicted, die, not get sentenced. And this normally isn't the outcome. There are some other options that the judge has when conviction time or sentencing times comes next week, is there not?
Yeah, there are, but I want to be exceedingly clear. This is a Pyrrhic victory. This is not a victory at all. This is a political victory for Judge Merchan because he gets to say that he did not capitulate and dismiss Mr. Trump's case. But he's getting an unconditional discharge, which is not a term I'm familiar with in Texas, but I read the New York law, and it's essentially a discharge with no fine, no probation, no jail time. You basically just have the felon moniker. And as much as I like this, you know, I like re-enfranchisement and think that we need to give people an opportunity to be forgiven in this society, I think that this is completely bunk. I think that this is purely to say you didn't capitulate to the dismissal, the rule of law and all of that. How do you not give a billionaire a fine at the very least? That makes no sense. Putting him in jail, yes, that is, I understand that's unwieldy because he's the president of the United States. I mean, there are some practical realities. But how you don't even assess a fine is absurd to me. And it's not that the fine would really measurably affect him as much as it would be proof positive that the system is actually extracting the pound of flesh that it would get from any other citizen. But all we're getting here is the moniker felon, which really means nothing. So I wish Merchan had just decided to capitulate to the dismissal rather than do this, because this is not only a Pyrrhic victory, this is a slap in the face.
You know what, Matt, another question I want to stick with you, and that is this, that there's something on the table. I hear a lot of people talking about where could he be sentenced, possibly serve that sentence after he serves out his presidency. Does that sound viable to you?
Well, you know, not that I've ever seen for that period of time. However, there are times where people get appeal bonds and they get other things that would stay the imposition of a sentence. I don't know New York law, but I would suspect, especially if there were a stipulation or an agreement between the parties that, you know, at the expiration of his time, if you were sentenced to jail time, he could serve it then. You have that kind of thing when people are sentenced to probation or sentenced to something like shock probation, where they've got to go do a period of time before they get out on probation. There are various, you know, mixes, but I don't think that happens here because I think Mershon has already tipped his hand and telegraphed that he is not going to meaningfully punish him. And I think that's the problem with this. I think what we're getting is the political, I'm not letting you off the hook, but I'm functionally letting you off the hook, which means that it's not of any value, if you ask me.
Michael, some would say, why would you put him in jail, though? I mean, one of the most powerful people in the world. It actually doesn't make sense. To that argument, what would you say?
Well, these were low-level felonies in the state of New York. And I'm not even certain that Alan Bragg was seeking prison time. I'm not exactly certain on that, but I would say follow the law. I would say treat him like you would somebody who was black. I would say follow the law. Okay. So, this is, I agree with Matt on this. Judge Juan Mershon this is like a political stance. You're not capitulating to him, but you really are. You're for the sentence to be rendered possibly on January 10th, because most likely, even though the reporting from NBC News is saying it's not clear that his attorneys will appeal, his attorneys are going to appeal. Okay, his attorneys are going to appeal. So he gets sworn. The inauguration is on the 20th. Okay, you're going to possibly render a sentence on the 10th. So this is more like really a slap on the wrist. And I know Kelly said America voted for Donald Trump, but this is showing how stupid America is. This is showing, Donald Trump is really a reflection of the greed and the stupidity that many Americans have. He got about 76 million votes. You voted for this criminal. You voted for this man who incited the insurrection. If you think he's going to lower the gas prices, obviously you haven't done the research, because Donald Trump was the reason why the gas prices went up in 2020 when the oil executives went to him and said, we're losing money because people weren't driving during COVID. Okay. And then they asked him to negotiate with Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia and Vladimir Putin of Russia. And he did. And the result was that Russia and Saudi Arabia cut daily oil production by 9.7 million barrels. And that caused a spike in the price of gas. So if you're dumb enough to vote for him because you think he's going to lower prices, because you remember when gas was $1.62 a gallon, you have no understanding of how the economy works. And you deserve whatever happens to you. The Washington Post just had an article that talked about how a lot of poor, lower income people who voted for Trump hope he doesn't take away their entitlements, hope he doesn't cut welfare and things like this. Yet he has Elon Musk, who's one of the biggest welfare babies in the history of this country, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who heads up Doge, to cut $2 trillion from the $6 trillion spending, and they're going after probably entitlements that are going to hurt the poor. So if you're dumb enough to vote for this fraud, well, hell, you deserve whatever happens to you. I have no sympathy for you. I'm sorry. I'm all out of F's to give. I'm sorry.
Kelly, I want to wrap this up to you about 20 seconds. What Matt said is correct in that Alvin Bragg, he didn't necessarily ask for jail time, or what Michael said was correct, and that he didn't necessarily ask for jail time at this particular juncture. And I think that just because of the idea that the president of the United States can't be behind bars. Would you agree with that?
We've never been in a situation where he had to be behind bars in the first place. So the fact that you're saying that a president can't, I'm like, well, who's to say? We don't have any precedent to say one way or the other. I think this was a political move on behalf of Bragg so that he's not the black man who wanted the white president in jail, right? Because that's the stigma, right? That would be stuck on him if he were to do such a thing. I think all of this was a political move, but I go back to the point that I made at the beginning of the segment. At the end of the day, we have a felon for president. We have a convicted felon 34 times over for president of the United States. That is going to have ramifications for the next 4 years and forever long he's in office, because we are losing the respect globally. We're losing the respect domestically. We're losing morale across the board, right? And like what Michael's saying, you know, like I'm out of F's to give, but it's unfortunate that I have to try and find at least a damn because these things are going to be affecting me too.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? It's not going to just affect the people who voted for him. It's going to affect all of us, all of the ramifications of this man having the highest seat in the land. So I might not be able to find an F, but I need to find a hell somewhere. I need to find a damn in the drawer, sock pocket, something.
Yeah, tastes like
Curl Prep Natural Hair Solutions at curlprep.com.
I'm in shock.
For curls, locks, braids, twists, and even those wigs and extensions. Women, men, and children are loving this line. Look at this video and you be the judge. People line up to see this product in action at hair shows, and when they take a seat and try it, they don't believe it's their hair. Buy the products at curlprep.com. It works on all hair types. Use code ROLAND, that's ROLAND, lowercase letters, to get a 15% discount. Parents, remove the ouch. You will love this system because you can comb the product through your child's hair with your fingers. It's all at curlprep.com. Use code ROLAND, lowercase letters, to get a 15% discount.
it's on the tongue, so you know that it's sweet.